Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So one of the best things for me about mid lane is that there's always something new to play. And I really enjoy finding out these new things, whether it's completely by myself or just seeing what's popular or what's really seemingly strong. And this one is going to be one of those videos where I'll tell you guys about something that I think is just exceptionally strong and something I think we'll be all seeing more often in the mid lane. Now I am talking about Rylai's brand. Now of course there are people already playing this, but there's really not that many people either, maybe because people don't understand how strong it is or just don't know about it. But as a very quick and brief summary, I'm talking about building the item Rylai's on brand because it synergizes exceptionally well with his passive, nearly permanently slowing your target, allowing you to land your skill shots much easier. But the cool thing is Brand's passive also synergizes with other items very well, and overall Brand just feels like a strong mid laner at the moment. So as usual, I'll be going through the positives, the negatives, the item builds, the runes, masteries, general tips, and my final thoughts throughout this video, and you just saw the crazy damage on that kill right there. So let's start things off with the positives of Brand mid, especially the Rylai's Brand build. So like I said earlier, the synergy between Brand's passive and Rylai's is so darn strong. Not only does it still give him great damage, it gives him tankiness, but again the main part is the slow portion of Rylai's and his passive, allowing you to have huge control over a team fight and nearly permanently CC or slow a target down. But like I said, there are other items that synergize well with his passive, like Luden's Echo, because you can instantly proc the Luden's Echo effect as you're just kind of walking around and your passive is ticking away on the target, potentially dealing more damage that can secure the kill. And then you have Liandry's Torment that has the percent damage every time you deal magic damage to a target, which pretty much is the exact same thing that his passive does at the moment, so put the two and two together and you'll be doing a lot of damage to tanks. But moving a little bit away from just the items that synergize with his passive, of course focusing on Rylai's, Brand as a champion himself has a very aggressive and strong laning phase, has a lot of control over it because of just the sheer amount of damage his W can do, and the ability to simply push in the wave very quickly and the enemy opponent usually being scared to contest you to push in the wave against you. So his wave clear potential is definitely quite strong, though still not as strong as someone like a Ziggs or a Xerath. He has huge damage potential in team fights with his ultimate and the good control with Rylai's. Since hopefully everyone will be slowed and it will be hard for them to spread apart to prevent the ultimate from bouncing between them, which then you can also follow up with a nice E and W. And his E ability being the only target spell that's not his ultimate can be a really nice and easy way to apply the Rylai's to start your full chain combo, following up with the Q, then the W, then the ult, then the E again, and rinse and repeat. However, as good as all this sounds, let's talk about the cons. So even though he can apply his Rylai's slow so often, the only hard CC he really does have is his Q ability, which is a skill shot, can only stun one target, and you have to set it up in order to actually get the stun off, such as applying your passive. All of this in my opinion is very annoying when someone like a Xerath just simply has an E ability that accomplishes the same thing but doesn't require prerequisites. His ultimate can be easily countered if the enemy team knows to move away, unless you already have your Rylai's applied to most of them, in which case then it can be difficult for them to move away. He's a very immobile champion with no escapes, and mana can be an issue especially in the laning phase, which is why I like rushing the Morellonomicon. But speaking of Morellonomicon, let's talk about what items you want to be building on this disgustingly strong, control-oriented, high damage dealing brand. Almost always I'll start off with a Doran's Ring and a few potions, but boots is not that bad either, so you can easily get into your opponent's face with the E ability and then begin your full combo. For the core items however, the Morellonomicon is an absolute must, but you can replace it with the Fiends if you so choose, maybe because they have a lot of magic damage in their team. I usually then like to upgrade my boots to Sork boots, and then I instantly rush the Rylai's. After that, I almost always get the Rabadons, and then after Rabadons is where you want to look at the other options. However, if you're winning laning phase very hard and you're extremely fed, sometimes you can actually throw in the Luden's Echo maybe after Morellonomicon or after boots and then get the Rylai's. If the team has a lot of tanks, then you can definitely throw in the Liandry's Torment as well. But these items are considered luxury items in my opinion, and you should only get them if you're very strong in the head. Other than that, you probably want to look towards the Zhonya's and the Abyssal Scepter. Talking about runes very quickly, Magic Pen Reds, HP per level Yellows or Armor depending on who you're facing mid, AP per level Blues, and flat AP Quints. 40% cooldown reduction on Brand is not a necessity as it is on some other champions, so you can definitely go for the AP for the extra damage. And the mastery page I run is a very simple 2109. Next, let's talk about some general tips playing Brand mid. So first and foremost, you want to master W first, then most likely your E ability, and then you want to finish it off with the Q. There's also two ways you want to usually wave clear. It all depends on how strong you are and how many items you have. If you're strong, wave clear number 2 can work. If you're not that strong, you probably have to use wave clear number 1 for the extra damage. Being aggressive in the laning phase is important on Brand because he has a lot of damage output, and there's a few ways you want to do that. If you're going more or less all in for the kill mid to late game, you usually want to start off with the E, apply the Rylai's, helps you land your Q, and then throw out the W and your ultimate and ignite. But a very standard, simple harass method in the laning phase is to first use your E ability, and then you want to use your W. And if you can, throw in a Q just for extra damage. And a cool trick also to stun your target if they're simply out of range of your E ability, since it is lower range than your W and your Q, is to first use your W and then throw the Q as the W animation is still playing, and they'll get stunned almost instantly as the W hits them. But going into my final thoughts and rating on Brand mid with Rylai's, I'll be giving it a very respectable 7.5 out of 10, having huge control with Rylai's, having his passive synergize with so many of the items that are now strong after the AP item rework, and overall just being a very high damage control oriented mage with a strong laning phase. However, he has no escapes, his ult can be easily avoided, and he requires time to set up his Q and his whole combo. But that right there is about it for this video talking about Brand with Rylai's. I truly think it is very strong and I recommend trying it out. If you did enjoy, definitely hit the like button, check out my other videos as well, subscribe if you haven't, and I hope to see you for the next video. Thank you so much for watching, peace.